Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
I got it.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillahi alladhi nafara qulubana بأنقار المحبة العلوية وأكمل لنا ديننا بولاية المرتزبية وتم نعمته علينا بهداية الحيدرية ونصلي ونسلم على سيد من خلق المؤمن الحق بالحق حبيب إلهنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهداة المهديين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من يوم إداوتهم إلى يوم الدين. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. Brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum. Last night we talked about the a'mals and our actions, and we mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes for his ibad, for his servants, to do certain actions, in secret or in quietness. For instance, we are told to do zikr a lot. And the 8th Imam has a very beautiful hadith, which is a very long hadith, but I just want to point on one point of that hadith, which is this. That Imam says, the worst of people is the person that sits and has got nothing to do. We have this a lot because we are waiting quite a lot, whether we are in traffic or whether we are waiting for a train or a bus, or we're just sitting there doing nothing. Imam Rizal says the worst person is that sits there and has got nothing to do, but doesn't do the zikr of Allah. It doesn't take long. I mean, if you can get into these habits, it's very good. There are certain things that if you get into habits, they become part of your nature. In particular, one of the best things to do is whatever you do, say Bismillah. Whatever you do, whether you open the door to the kitchen, to the bathroom, to the car, you press the button on the car to get into the car, get into the habit of saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And in particular, if someone gives you something to read, or you pick up a book, any book, it doesn't have to be the Quran, it doesn't have to be the Mafati, Salawat Muhammad. Get into the habit as soon as you open a book to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Why? Because this habit will be like this in the hereafter. That on the day of judgment, when they give you your file, as soon as you open it, whatever's inside it, but if you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, like I said last night, Allah is merciful. He will say, don't even bother reading the rest, just leave it at that, we'll go. And this mercy of Allah is amazing, and this is something I'm trying to instill in us a lot. That Allah is merciful. They say that in a riwayah, one of our traditions, that Jesus was walking past a graveyard with his Hawariyun, his disciples, his companions. And when they got near to a certain grave, the disciples wanted to stop. Jesus said to them, no, quickly, let's go past this grave as quickly as we can. The disciples said, why? He said, because the person who's just been buried in this grave is going through a lot of azab from Allah in the grave, the punishment of the grave. That's why we shouldn't stand there, we should move on. So they went on to their journey. On their way back, they went past the same cemetery. This time, Jesus went straight to this grave and he stood there and he started to do a prayer. Now, whether it was Fatiha or something similar, the disciples said to Jesus, what happened? On the way, you said not to stop because this person is being punished. But on the way back, you're now stopping? He said, yes, because by the time we went and came back, whether it was a week or a few days, this person who had died, his son had started school. And in the school, the teacher had taught him this, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of the Lord, the most merciful, the most beneficent. Because his son has learnt of the mercy of God, Allah has removed the punishment from this grave. This is why, you see, unfortunately sometimes when we translate Arabic into English, a lot of things are lost in translation. And this is quite a shame, because if you read something in its proper language, in its mother language, mother tongue, it makes a completely different meaning to when you translate it to English. We say in English, the day of judgment, and again, this is wrong. Because in the Quran, you will see there is no mention of day of judgment. There is Yawm al-Qiyamah. Qiyam means to raise up. So everyone who is dead will be raised up. All Allah says about the day of judgment, the Yawm al-Qiyamah, Yawm al-Hasra, the day of regret. Whoever gets up will regret. Then why did I not do more? But there is no, or Yawm al-Din, we have these things, but we don't have day of judgment. Why? Because Allah is not there to judge us. Because our deeds are very clear. Our deeds are recorded every morning. And this is the beauty of Allah. When I say Allah, you see, for us, I said last night, we don't understand who Imam Hussein is. We don't understand who God is. Even Amir al-Mu'mineen says in Dua Komail, Anta akramu min an tudayyi'a man rabbayta. And he's saying this, that you are greater, Kareem, you are more beneficent than what I can perceive a God to be. Now if Ali says this, that you are greater than what I can imagine, then what do we imagine Allah to be like? When I said last night, Allah is not a God of punishment. We have to instill love in our children. When you instill love, everything else comes with it. Why has Imam Hussein become so popular? You see, because Imam Hussein's movement was based on love, nothing else. When a movement is based in love, it becomes universal. You will see, and I don't have to tell you these things, but you know yourself better than me. Every walk of life, whether they are Christian, Hindu, Jewish, Zoroastrian, everybody has some sort of respect for Imam Hussein. Why? Because his movement was based on love. Why do we hate the enemies of Ahlul Bayt? Because their movement, their ideology is based on hatred and kina and jealousy. That's it. So we have to instill in our children that God is a merciful God. Of course, punishment has to be there for those who deserve punishment. See, we say in Dua Iftitah, وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ فِي مَوْضِعِ الْعَفْوِ وَالرَّحْمَةِ وَأَشَدُّ الْمُعَاقِبِينَ فِي مَوْضِعِ النِّكَالِ وَالنَّقِمَةِ. That you are the most merciful when it comes to obtaining mercy, but when it comes to punishment, he has to also be severe. Otherwise, what will happen to the likes of Shem and Yazid and Muawiyah and the Shaykhain and all of these people? Allah will have mercy on those as well. So, in its time, but for us, Shi'as of Amir al-Mu'mineen, I'm not saying this on my own back, I'm saying this with 100% yaqeen on our traditions and ayahs of the Quran. That the Shi'as of Amir al-Mu'mineen is like, you know when you used to, because I like to sometimes speak to the younger children and the people, when you used to play in school and you used to set up a football team in school, and your team was much stronger than the opposition's team, you used to say to them, we'll give you 5 goals head start. Wow. This was the way we used to do this, isn't it, in school. So we used to give them 5 goals because we know they were weaker than us. And with the Shi'as of Amir al-Mu'mineen, it's a similar thing on the Day of Judgment. Allah will forgive a lot because you are purely Shia. Now whether you have acted or not acted on this Shia or this faith, this already gets you some brownie points with Allah. This gives you some extra levels in the game, if you like. Right? So this is purely for being a Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So we are given this chance. Now, what I'm trying to get to, and inshallah, over the few nights that we have left, I want to show you that why it's so important that we just don't be happy with this. That we shouldn't just sit and be content. That just by being a Shia, we will get to this level. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent us 12 guides. These 12 guides, each single one of them has their own speciality and their own importance in the sight of Allah. But Imam Hussein is being separated. And we look, when I say that there is no such thing as the day of judgment, because Allah doesn't judge people. Because whatever you do, you have earned it. And my brothers and sisters, every morning at Fajr time, the two angels get changed. Every morning. Because this is Allah's way of doing things. He doesn't like for the same angels to be with you every single day, so that if you ever do anything wrong, they get changed at night time, a new one comes. So you don't lose any face in front of the angels. So they say one of the best things to do is after you've finished your Fajr namaz, just turn around and send one salawat to this one and one salawat to this one. It's like bribing them. It's a form of bribery. We say that, look, I am sending you this dua, and so we have to bear in mind with this. Now, when I mentioned that Allah says He likes your a'mals, your actions to be done in secret and in quiet. For instance, we have from Imam Raza alayhi salam that when you one of the best ways to do your prayers, he says, is in darkness, when nobody else in the house can see you or hear you. This is Imam Raza. The best way to do your prayer. He says, if you want to do dua, turn off the lights. No one can hear you. Go somewhere where if you want to cry, nobody can hear you. If you want to do zikr very quietly. Even the zikr of La ilaha illallah does not even need you to move your lips. It's one of these miracles of this word, La ilaha illallah. Doesn't need you to move your lips. So you have no excuse not to do the zikr. Last night I mentioned if you name your children after Ahlul Bayt, every time you call them, you are doing the zikr of Allah, because their names are holy. So, however, on the flip side to all of this, there are certain a'mal Allah wants to be done in public. Allah wants us to shout about them. Allah wants us to raise our voice when we do these. These are known as sha'a'ir of Allah. Azadari being one of them. None of our traditions, riwayat, say when you want to do azadari, go somewhere on your own, quiet, turn off the lights, make sure no one can see you, no one can hear you. No, opposite to this, they say on the day of Ashura, do not stay in your houses. Go out into the streets. When you go out into the streets, take the look of somebody who is azadar. So this is an ibadat of Allah. But Allah says not. Why? Because we have to show the world. We have to show the enemies that the Shi'as of Ali are strong. Number one. Number two, sha'a'ir of Allah, the slogans of Allah, the manifestations of Allah, these are all like a symbol, like a flag. If you have a flag and you put it on the floor, what's the use of this flag? The flag has to be raised for everyone to see it. It's the same as the alams. The alams have to be raised so that the whole world can see this alam and the meanings behind these alams. These are sha'a'ir of Allah. Hajj has to be done in public. Namaz al-Jama'at in public. Another sha'a'ir of Allah is the salawats that we say. Rasulullah himself says, Irfa'u aswatakum. When you want to say durood to me, raise your voices. See? Now, what does this achieve? First of all, it shows the world that every time the name of Rasul comes, the Shi'as praise him. You will see Ahl Sunnah don't have any sha'a'ir of Allah apart from Hajj. They don't do anything else in public. They don't even send salawat of durood to Rasulullah. Only the Shi'as do this. The other point to this is our children will learn from us that every time the name of Rasul is mentioned, that you have to say it loudly, the salawat. So much so, they say that if you are doing namaz, which is the wajib zikr of Allah, that if someone mentions the name of Rasulullah and you are in the middle of reciting the surah, you have to then say salawat right in between that surah. This is the importance of Rasulullah. So if you want your actions to be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those actions that are meant to be done in secret and in quiet, do them that way. Because you will know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees everything. أَلَمْ يَعْلَمُوا بَأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَرَى. Allah says in the Quran. Do you not know that Allah sees everything? If you're doing it for Allah, it will be recorded. It will be recorded. And this is the amazing thing. There's someone in history, I'm not sure you've all heard of this name, by the name of Bohlul. Have you heard of Bohlul? Now, Bohlul was an extremely intelligent person. However, because he was intelligent, they said he was crazy. He was an idiot. And honestly, isn't it a very strange world when you think about it? That someone like Bohlul, who was extremely intelligent and wise, is classed as being crazy and an idiot. But we live in a world that when someone is an idiot and crazy, becomes the President of the United States. This is the world we live in. Bohlul was walking past a group of builders building something. And he said to them, what are you building here? They said, Harun al-Rashid alayhi al-la'natu wal-azar is building a mosque. So Bohlul said, what a great thing this man is doing, building a mosque. So he said, I want to go and see Harun. So he went to see Harun. Harun said, what do you want? He said, I hear you're building a mosque. He said, yes. He said, I want to be also part of this building of this mosque. Can you give me a chance so that I can also be partner with you in this sawab? So Harun said to him, what do you want? He says, I can only afford to put one brick into the wall of this mosque. So he said, okay, no problems. I'm building the rest of one brick is not going to change anything. But he said, I want it written that you give me permission that I put a brick into the wall of this masjid. Anywhere I want. Okay. Harun wrote the letter. He went and he had a brick made. He brought the brick, he gave it to the builder. The builder said, what is this? He said, Harun has given me, this is the letter. The builder looked at the letter, he said, okay. He goes, where do you want to place this brick? He said, I want to place it right on top of the door to the entrance to this mosque. So the builder said, Harun said, yes, no problem. So they put the brick, mosque was finished. Harun came on the day of the ceremony, opening ceremony. As soon as he got to the door of the mosque, he looked up, he said, it is written on that brick, Masjid al-Bohlul. Harun said, what's going on? I can build this mosque. But it is written Bohlul, so he called Bohlul. What is it you have done? He said, you gave me permission for one brick, I have put one brick. Didn't he give him? Yeah, but I have paid for this mosque. I am building it. It should be Masjid Harun al-Rashid. He said, if you are doing it for God, then God has already knows your actions. You see? So this is what we have to understand. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will see everything we do. So we don't have to shout about it. Now, when it comes to Imam Hussein, it becomes slightly more different. That even you don't have to do anything. Even you don't have to have the intention. It is somehow written for you as accepted. And I will give you this as an example, that I heard this from my own grandmother. And she heard it from her mother. And they were Sadats of extremely amazing spirituality. That they said that in Yazd, where they were from in Iran, is a city called Yazd, a very holy city. Actually, quite a lot of alims come from that city. That every year they used to give the food out on the day of Ashura. And what they used to do is, and I'm sure you've seen it all in Iraq and places like this, they have these big pots of food, you know, and they use these logs of wood and fire underneath it to build it. Now, one Ashura, a lady came from the community there. This lady was a bad lady. She earned her money in a bad way. I don't have to tell you what she did. And she was well known. When she got near to this place where they were cooking, everyone started to shout. No, no, no. Najis person, this is Imam Hussein, day of Ashura. You are letting this person come near the food cooking? This is why in the Majalis of Hussein, do not judge anybody. Do not judge anybody. Because a saint can come in and leave a sinner can come in and leave a saint. So, everyone came, no, we don't allow this person. So, what happened? My great-grandmother stepped forward, she was in charge of it. She said, no, this is for Imam Hussein, we don't judge anybody at this door. This is the door of repentance. Let her come. So she came. Now she is shameful, because she knows what she has done. So she said to my great-grandmother, can I at least do something? She said, yes, you take the spoon and you start stirring. So this lady says, when I came to stir the food, the fire, the flame was very high. It hit me in the face. I started to cry because of the smoke, not because of Imam Hussein. But the tears started to flow and they started to fall into the food and I kept stirring. And I thought to myself, if this is the flames from this wood that is cooking, how will I deal with the fires of the hell? So anyway, she stirred the food and she went. As it happened, a few months later, this woman died. So they buried her. At the same time that this woman died, an alim in Yazd had died a few days earlier. So they buried both of them in the same cemetery. And this is again a lesson for us. Rich or poor, mu'min or non-mu'min, we will all be done Muslim, we will all be buried in the same place. So when this alim also died, he got buried in there. His son, 3 days after his burial, saw his father in his sleep. And he said, Father, you have died. What is it like? He said, when I died and you buried me and you left, the first night was very difficult, very scary. He said, however, something happened that they brought another person to be buried. As soon as she was buried, not long anybody has left, Imam Hussein came to the cemetery with Hazrat Abbas and Hazrat Ali Akbar. My son, I want you to go and find out who this person was, because they must be awliya of Allah, that as soon as they are buried, Hussein comes to visit them. So he got up from the dream, he went and he found out who else was buried on the same day my father was buried. There was an alim. They said, apart from this lady who was a bad person, no one else is being buried. When he remembered what his father said to him about where the grave was, he went to that grave and he saw it was the grave of that lady who was a bad person. This is how Hussein is Safinatul Najah. But when Ahl al-Bayt says Safinatul Hussein Asra, it is faster. It's like this. It's like this. So realize where you are set, for whom you have come, for whom you are wearing black, for whom you are spending your time and your money and your efforts, for whom. Allah. Imam Reza said to Abu Sa'd was his companion and his khadim. He said, Abu Sa'd, Ma'mun has called me to go to his palace. I have a feeling that once I go into this palace of Ma'mun and I come back out, I will not be alive for much longer. So Abu Sa'd, once I go in and come back, and if you see I have put my cloak and my abba on my head, then know that Ma'mun has poisoned me. So Abu Sa'd said, Mawla went to the palace and I stood outside now worrying that what is going to happen to my Mawla. He said, when I saw Imam Reza come back out of that palace, he put the abba on top of his head and I saw that he was starting to shake. Then I realized that Imam has been poisoned. So I took Imam quickly to the tent where we were staying there. We took him inside. He said, on the way from the palace to the tent, there wasn't much distance. But from the palace to the tent, Imam kept falling onto the ground. He couldn't get up, he couldn't walk. Abu Sa'd said, with great difficulty, I took him from the palace to the tent. Allahu Akbar. This was exactly the same thing that happened to Hazrat Zahra. That from the mosque of Rasulullah to the house of Fatima, there wasn't much distance. And she couldn't walk that distance. She would get up, she would fall down. She would get up, she would fall down. Allahu Akbar. Abu Sa'd says Imam Rizal was falling onto the floor. He was like someone who has been bitten by a snake. Like a snake, he was twisting himself around. The poison was so strong. He kept looking towards the door of the tent. I kept saying to him, Mawla, what are you waiting for? He goes, I am waiting for my son Jawad to come. But I said to him, Jawad is in Medina. How can he come here to Iran? He said, oh, Abu Sa'd, have faith in the mercy of Allah. Abu Sa'd said, suddenly I saw the door to the tent open. Imam and Jawad came in. This young boy walked in. I said to him, who are you? He said, I am Jawad. He said, how did you come all this way from Medina to here? He said, Abu Sa'd, do you not know what the powers that we have? He says, Abu Sa'd, then Imam Rizal said to him one thing, Ya Abu Sa'd, remove my shirt that I am wearing. I thought maybe the poison was affecting him so much, it was making him heat up. So I took his clothes off. Then I saw Imam fall onto the ground. There was a rug on the floor. Imam Rizal pulled away the rug. He started to put his chest onto the soil, onto the ground. I said to him, Mawla, let me move you to the bed somewhere more comfortable. Why are you putting your chest on the soil? He said, Abu Sa'd, because Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, his naked body was also on the soil for 3 days and 3 nights. I also want to die with the soil on my chest. Allahu Akbar. Abu Sa'd then says, Imam Jawad came. He took the head of his father, Ali ibn Musa Reza. He placed it on his lap. He looked into the face of his father. Only one thing had happened to Imam Reza. The face of Imam Reza had changed to yellow because of the poison. Apart from that, there was no other wounds or scars on the face of Imam Reza. Allah at Karbala, when Imam Sajjad came on the 13th of Muharram, he wanted to bury his father. He picked up this body that had been mutilated, this body that had been trampled on by the horses, this body that had been dismembered, that even to collect the body, Imam had to bring a mat and put all the body pieces together to get it into the grave. There Imam Jawad kissed the face of his father. He kissed the lips of his father. Here at Karbala, Zainul Abidin wanted to kiss the face of his father. He wanted to kiss the lips of his father. But Imam Hussein's body did not have a head on it. Allahu Akbar. Imam Jawad buried his father. He put his father in the grave. He put his father's face towards the Qibla. He kissed the face of his father. He came out of the grave and he covered the grave of Ali ibn Musa Reza. At Karbala, Imam Sajjad put the body pieces into a grave. He wanted to put the face towards Qibla, but there was no head. He wanted to kiss the head, but there was no head. Allahu Akbar. He then got out of the grave. Bani Asad say we saw Imam was still looking around into the deserts of Karbala at night. They said to him, Mawla, what else are you looking for? There is no other body parts left for us to bury. This is all that we could find. He said, no, I am looking for the 6-month-old Ali and Al-Askar, because my father said, when you bury me, place Ali and Al-Askar on my chest. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Imam Sajjad found the beheaded body of this 6-month-old. He placed it on the chest of his father. Then he came out of the grave. He covered the grave with the soils of Karbala. With his tears, he made some mud on the soil of the grave of Imam Hussein. With his fingertips, he wrote this on the grave of Imam Hussein. Allah ya ahl al-alam, hada qabr Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. Because he didn't want anybody to confuse this grave with any other Hussein ibn Ali, he also added this with his fingertips underneath it. Alladhina qataluhu adshana. Ya Ahl al-Alam, O people of the world, this is the grave of Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, the person that was killed while he was thirsty. Allah la'natullahi ala al-qawmi al-zalimin. فَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ. Ya Rabb al-Hussein, بحق Hussein, اشف صدر الحسين بظهور الحجة يا رب الحجة بحق حجة اشف صدر الحجة بظهور الحجة يا رب المؤمنين بحق أمير المؤمنين